Wow.
Well, did you enjoy the summer? We're back.
I like that mambo groove back in the theme there.
Greg was basically more busy than Phil Collins in the 80s.
Yeah.
And summer is summer, and next year for summer, the carnival will go to specials, or, we work it out as we have. We deal with a lot of musicians. They have to make a living.
So each episode will be really, really precious, so
Yes.
you can't miss any of them.
But I always call this is the start of our next season. We don't have seasons, but it sounds good. It's September. We're heading into autumn and everything. The pumpkin spice is invaded all over. I give up. I'm an old school holiday person where, okay, Christmas is Thanksgiving through New Year's. Halloween is October. Submit now. What are you going to do? It's
That's right.
The pumpkin spice is calling you. I found some white chocolate pumpkin spice chocolate.
Everything is
But
beer,
you always
everything
learn
is pumpkin.
everything. We always try to teach you something new on this show. It's like, don't be too old podcasters. The first one. But did you know, as Greg will tell you, tell all your friends, impress them. Next time you hear Alice Cooper's Be My Lover, there's a little story.
Oh, yeah. So I bought a remastered, reissued disc. And the second disc is a bunch of live songs from Puerto Rico, some live festival, like 72. Which, now that I listen to that whole record, I realize what a great band he had back then with Michael Bruce and Dennis Dunaway and Neil Smith, I think it was his name, the drummer. Well, anyway, so the story on Be My Lover is the lyrics were actually part of a plane trip that I think Michael Bruce or whoever wrote the song, which is interesting, too, because Alice Cooper really didn't write. Those guys in the band wrote all those riffs, and he had a great band. Anyway, so the guy's on an airplane, and he's talking to some lady, and, what do you do? And, I'm in a rock band, and he mentions the name, and I think she did say something like, well, who's Alice, or something, or what? And so the lyrics in there, she asked me why the singer's name was Alice, and all. So that's actually a real event that happened that prompted him to write the lyrics. But anyway, so at the end of the song, in the big hole toward the end when they were doing the big ending, there's a part where they stop and you hear this stick click thing. And for years, I just thought, and I always wondered why he would do it. In the studio, he raised his arms up and hit the sticks together. And maybe I figured it was a cue because I figured, well, maybe they couldn't see him or they were in a different room or something. So I come to find out in this book that they're talking about, the different songs and how they came to be and all that. And they said that what that was the drummer liked to spin his sticks during the breaks, and it drove Bob Ezrin, the producer, nuts. Because he's like, why are you doing that? So anyway, they did the stop. He did a spin. The stick fell, hit the rim of the bass drum. So it hit the bass drum and then hit something else. So you hear those two clicks. And there it is. Revealed after all these years, it was an accident. The producer tried to take it out. The band thought, well, what the hell? Leave it in there. And it's just like, it's one of those signature parts of the song. It's like a hey in a song. Everybody's just going to, at that part, everybody's just going to go, wait, raise their fists or something. And
well, I guess with Bob Ezrin, we was asked about drummers doing that, and he said, I've really hit a wall with drummers.
No!
But I love hearing backgrounds of stuff, and like the story about how Led Zeppelin named the song Black Dog.
Oh, yeah?
And you wonder why they named it Black Dog. It's not about a dog or anything.
What's it about?
It's about, well, it's just, hey, Mama, it just sounds like a typical, like, sort of Zeppelin, sort of bluesy. What happened was somebody's lab, like a tech's lab, was roaming around the studio. The cane popped in while they were singing, so they named the song after it.
Wow.
So
it's not like about a hooker or anything? Okay.
Might be. You never know. You never know or anything with them. Those were the days, those 70s, where you could never get away with that ever since. But we were talking about, actually, it's an interesting topic I'll ask you about. I found out this morning, say we do important news. Like Bill Willingham, who wrote Fables for DC, he's saying he's having some kind of thing, and I don't know what the issue is. He's making Fables public domain, and DC's fighting it.
He's making what?
Fables is a comic book by Bill Willingham. Fables is sort of popular. It's good. I've heard, you always hear about they're going to do a TV thing on it or everything. But it's like the Fables, they're running. Geppetto's the villain.
Oh, wow.
They escape Fableland and they're living in the real world.
That sounds kind of cool.
It's really, really good. They actually have some at Ollie's.
Kind of sounds like that Once Upon a
Time. I thought
that was a cool show.
But he's saying, he's claiming it's public domain, and it brings up the issue again about creators' rights versus the company and everything.
There's so many books or so many stories, because I don't remember. I sent you those pictures of those books I bought. Yeah. And one's a history of comic books. And this is really good. I mean, I'm learning a lot through these stories. They go through the whole Jack Kirby thing and Marvel and, they were saying that Stan Lee, after the Justice League was started, that was big. So they pressured Stan Lee, get some kind of team thing.
Yep, exactly. That's the story.
And then Fantastic Four was born. And anyway, but the whole thing of Bill Finger getting screwed out of all his money from Batman and how Neil Smith and is that his name? Neil Smith and Adams.
Neil
Adams and who was the other guy?
Denny O'Neil.
Denny O'Neil and the writer guy who reinvented Batman and that stuff is great. All those behind the scenes stories are
well,
really
somehow
cool.
Bob Kane, because Bill Finger really created Batman, but Bob Kane somehow got the rights.
Yeah, well,
or something, and I don't know the story enough.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that. I mean,
Frank Miller said the one problem with comic books is there's really nobody who's written the definitive history. So, and then people are dying off. You get hearsay, you get this story. I mean, did Steve Ditko say Stan Lee really didn't write the first 33 issues of Spider-Man? It was all him. Other people say Stan did.
Right. I don't know about that. That one I don't know.
No, we don't know. That's the thing. You take one person's word. Because they had that Marvel system, too, which was different, where they would draw the book. They would look at the plot. They'd draw the book, and then they would put the words in. I would think for me, that would be difficult.
Yeah, that would be strange.
You fill in the bubbles after it's drawn.
Yeah, that's weird. Well, yeah, they write the story by the pictures, I guess.
And I always, I've said this before, there was some comic book in the 50s. It was like a sort of a horror fantasy it was a Timely Comics at the time, Marvel.
Yeah.
And it was Ditko and it was Stan Lee, and it was an old couple who found a mermaid shows up on the beach. They lived by the beach.
Oh, wow.
They were Aunt May and Uncle Ben. That's how the drawings were. So he just grabbed them from there.
Wow.
And everything.
I was thinking about this one thing. Somebody gave me as a gift. I have a buddy that he always gives me these weird. He gave me a bunch of cards. He goes to these stores and he finds these, like the old horror cards, and they're in a plastic case, and they're just screen grabs from different shows and things, and they're really cool. I mean, but he gave me this one thing. It's Weird Tales or something. It's like those old school scare comics, so those are really neat to read.
It's always good to find friends who are moving and those types who aren't like semi-hoarders like us.
Right.
One of my friends was moving to San Francisco. He was I don't have room for these. Here, take all my EC comic collections.
Oh, I know, right?
It's like, oh, well, yeah, you have room? Yeah, I'll find room.
I know.
But we were talking about and sometimes we should just stick a mic before we record. That's when all the interesting stuff happens.
Right.
We're going to have to start a live audience, because that's when once we start the show, it gets, drab.
The back room
Yeah, the back room discussions are better. But we were talking a little bit about where we used to get books when we were kids. But one thing I'll say is I used to always get, maybe it's still there. I loved used bookstores. There were two. We used to call it the mini mall. It was the Westgate Plaza. There's one there, and there's one in Spencerport. And you go in, you just get stacks of them, and they would have the covers ripped off.
Right.
And you would find comic books, but getting comics as a kid, there was a drugstore on Hudson by where the Wegmans was across from St. Stanislaus. I just go get them off the rack.
Oh yeah, there was a store there.
There was a Wegmans, because that's where my brother first worked.
Well, it became an IGA or something, didn't it?
And there was a drugstore in front.
I think so.
Because that's where we get my comic book.
I only went to school there for 10 years. I don't know.
Remember the racks?
The what?
The comic book racks.
Oh, the rack that spin around? Yeah,
you get some rock candy. This was these days, we're just talking candy. It's not a euphemism for.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Wegmans used to have comic racks and stuff, but now
I
they
think
don't.
they got Archie. It's the thing I never knew, but Tony told me at Empire was that Archie comics are always big sellers, and you could find. I think when you go into Wegmans, take a look at Wegmans next time you're there. It probably won't be long.
In an hour or so.
And look on the racks. I think they still have. They might have the comics, but they always had Archie comic books of the digests because they would sell because parents get them for their kids.
Yeah, that's cool. No, the only thing I've seen at where the store I'm at is Mad Libs and some other stuff at the front counter.
Where did you get your comics back in the days?
It was the Mohawk Grocery. And, well, I used to get them at Mandel's Pharmacy, which was at Portland and Norton, where there's a Caribbean club there now, or but like a restaurant. But it used to be Mandel's Pharmacy, and one of the people that worked there lived on my street, on Carter Street. So like, it was just a place I'd go there and I'd just go in there and read the books and stuff. And I'd get yelled at all the time. Hey, this ain't no library. You
ever hear the one? You could buy that book. I heard there was the Daily Planet. It was a place on Buffalo Road. They had like the booth, like a phone booth in front. I remember the guy. People look. You for whatever you could own those books. Well, I want to know if I'd like them.
Yeah, right. I got to test them. So at the Mohawk Grocery, the whole thing was he had a little rack in the corner. In the front, like behind the door, and he would just have a little thing of comic books with no covers. And I think they were a nickel or a dime a piece or something. So I'd save my money and I'd bike over there and I'd just buy 5 or 10. And, I got to read a lot of cool comics and not spend a whopping, 25 cents on a comic back then.
I know that was like a dime back then or whatever. Remember when it would say still only 10 cents?
Still only 10 cents.
Still only 25 cents.
Yeah.
And you always hear like Stan Lee would say everybody's parents or grandparents say this. My mom always said, well, I had the first Superman. I had the first Batman. We could be doing this on an island right now.
My mother threw out
somebody
all that
threw
stuff.
them all out because the carnival could be on an island and Taylor Swift could be playing.
Yeah.
We had all that.
I know.
But could you imagine, it's like even growing up, say you're 8 years old, like in 1960 or something. You go in, you collect you just get comic books, you read them. You go in, you get the first, you get the Amazing Fantasy with Spider-Man. Who's going to think this thing could buy a house if you hold on to it years later?
And it's funny too because I told the story before, but I have this T-shirt that Eddie Money signed because I met him when he was at a Red Wings game. It's a long story.
It's going to do when we.
I'd love to sell that
when we get the big hardcover coffee table book of the carnival stories. It's going to be in there, and everything. But it's also. Do you ever see the Amazing Stories? And I don't remember much of the show. I like the Santa Claus episode. It was a Steven Spielberg thing, but there's a thing called Gather Ye Acorns. It's got Mark Hamill, and this dwarf or gnome appears and say, you're going to be a wealthy man one day.
Wow.
And he's all, no, I'm not. He's going, I'm a failure. He's a collector, though. So this is what he's an old man, and all of a sudden, all the stuff he has is worth tons.
Wow. I never saw.
You ever see the movie Comic Book Villains?
No.
You have to see that.
Wow.
It's about this guy. He lives with his mom. He dies, and then the two comic book dealers. It turns out he has pristine. He has all these incredible books.
Wow.
And there's a fight over them.
I think I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's got the one guy was in Tao of Steve in it. And it's got Natasha Lyonne in it. It's it's got the purest comic book store versus the mall. People who are just in it for the money, the collectibles.
Right. It reminds me of, you ever see Unbreakable?
Oh, yeah.
That was a cool movie.
That was an awesome superhero movie,
it was.
too. That was like a Superman, almost like a Superman redo.
I still have that. I have to watch that again.
Did you get the twist or not before? Did you see it coming?
The what?
The twist. I have to do my M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, I
my
think so.
movies
It's
must
been a
give
long
you
time.
Twisty.
No, it's been a long time. I'll have to revisit it.
Well, if you haven't seen it now, Come on. But Mr. Glass turns out to be it's like the whole thing is you have to have the opposite for the villain. So because he's strong, Mr. Glass, he could like easily breakable bones. So he's
right.
And he was looking for his superhero villain. The villain was looking for his opponent.
Wow. I gotta watch it again.
That's a great movie, though. I love it.
I remember it was very serious for its time.
It's just like Brightburn, which was like the nastiest movies I've ever.
I know. I wanted
that
to
was
see
a
that. I wanted to see that.
I'll let you borrow it. I have it. I'll have it.
Do you? Cool.
But that I think actually it's a comic book too, because I saw Mark Millar was credited with it. But this is imagine Superman's a psychopath.
Right. Well, not hard. I think that's what Zack Snyder kind of tried to hone in on his Man of Steel. Is like, oh, this guy's a threat, and blah blah blah. Look what he could do, and if he wanted to, which is realistic, but it just ruins the whole idea of Superman. That he shouldn't really have to be proving himself, but. It's an interesting twist. I mean, they have to keep changing.
Well, yeah, John Byrne, I think his tweak was good because they had him sort of be like a dweeb in high school because he had all the powers. But what's he going to do? So, like in John Byrne's version, he's the football star, he's the pop,
Right.
Because that would be easy.
Why not? Right?
I would love that. Like the people who picked on you, it's like, I'm going to take care of you.
Yep.
But I was actually thinking of a different topic too today. It was, what do you think now of the Stones? Now, I heard a joke. Maybe you've heard it already.
I didn't listen to the song.
Okay,
yet.
No, but there's a song, the song "Angry."
Yeah.
You get people online. Everybody just wants to be negative or has to be snarky these days. It's getting a lot worse, I think, too. Everything's either you make something political, you get nasty, negative. Somebody wrote a post, and it's funny though. Too soon. It's like I'd rather be happy than angry. Points for the anybody who knows.
Yeah.
But and they're going to have a lot of guest stars on this, and like thoughts on this. It isn't like amazing how all these years they're still doing stuff.
Yeah, I know. I just picked up a couple of things. I bought a John Mayer CD, and because it's produced by Steve Jordan, and I like Steve Jordan, and I'm listening to it. I listened to it the other day, and it's like they're great songs, and it's kind of easy listening type stuff, easy, nice, cool grooves and stuff. And it's not a lot of guitar. He's not really making these albums to show off his playing. He's doing it more as a singer, and he's, with the songs. And they're really nice. He's got another album called Paradise Valley that I really like.
He's somebody who's passed me by, and I have a lot of friends who like him. I guess the famous story about him locally is when he was an unknown.
Oh, yeah?
He was opening for somebody at Jazz Fest. It was like in a club.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Nora Jones has played there, but I guess the person no-showed couldn't come.
Wow.
So he played a 4-hour set.
Holy crap.
And this was, I know, you could do that.
I could barely do that.
He's somebody who sort of passed me by who I've heard a lot about, like a lot of people.
Well, he toured with the Dead and stuff. I mean,
no wonder I don't.
He's got an interesting resume.
But actually, my new thing was I ordered a couple Japanese import Arthur Brown albums.
Ah, sweet.
Which is good. I haven't the crazy world of Arthur Brown and all this stuff.
That was cool stuff. I found it at Big Lots. Again, Big Lots is a treasure trove,
we should have
man.
them as they should be sponsoring us.
I bought Annabelle Comes Home for $1. Like, if you like Annabelle movies about the doll, I watched it the other night. It's pretty creepy. And it's got the guy in it that played in Watchmen. He played Owlman, I think, or whatever his name was in Watchmen. And anyway, it's a good movie. Lots of fake scares, the whole fake jump, and it's about these teenagers, and and it was good. And I also got this series that I started watching the other night called Murder One. I guess it was a Fox show.
I've heard,
and I bought the season. It's the first season, and I wanted to look at. There was only 2 seasons, but the other season's on Amazon Prime, and I really don't want to pay for it. But it's pretty good. I mean, it's a cool.
That's not the one Daniel Benzali, is it?
Huh?
The bald guy.
Yeah,
it is, and they do. I remember
Stephen Baccio show.
Yeah, I actually saw got the first season out of the library. Watched it. I think they said at the time it was hard to get viewers because the season was a case.
Yeah. Right.
You had to go through the whole year.
Right.
But
Right.
there's another one you would like that. It's called True Detective.
Yeah. Yep.
The first season, like they have different cast every year.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
But the first season was awesome, and they have like a twist in it you don't see coming.
I'll have to look for that.
And there's another one called Life on Mars, which is about. It's actually the guy who played the Master in Doctor Who.
Wow.
And it's a detective thing. It's not. It sounds sci-fi, but it's not. It's a British show.
Huh. Yeah, they had a couple of Doctor Who albums at Big Lots too with that Capaldi guy. But I just passed on those. I didn't want.
He's more.
I have one.
A lot of people have said the thing that I said. I said the same thing, where they liked him, but first season, but a lot of the episodes they don't like.
Yeah, I've only watched a couple with him, and they were okay. I just can't get past the Tom Baker. I like the quirky Tom Baker sort of thing,
Yeah, Tom Baker made it known this guy was from outer space.
Yeah, right.
Do you like a jelly baby? And I read his book, and I guess he said he just made stuff up as he went along.
Wow.
You know what he wanted for his companion? He said, well, the Doctor's an alien. Why do we have to have humans? He wanted a talking alien cabbage for his companion.
Okay, all right, that's a little out there.
Man, he's going to be 90 next year.
Wow.
He's still around.
Damn.
He had a really interesting life. Like, he was a monk for a while.
Wow.
And he's got, like, this weird phobia, he says. Like, he said, like, growing up strictly religious, like Catholic. He said, even now, you heard God was watching. He's always freaking about going to the bathroom.
Wow.
Because they say God's watching. I guess, too bad. I guess, like, there's a bar called the Coach and Horses in London.
Oh.
And Jeffrey Barnard, he's this one satirical writer. Martin Kingsley Amos, all these like people used to go there. Tom Baker used to go in there all the time.
Okay.
For pub stuff. Could you imagine like going down there and I saw the Red Horse Tavern when I was down there. That's pretty well known.
Yeah, I've never been out there.
I had to go. What did everybody say to me? You go to Abbey Road. You go to
Yeah.
Abbey Road. There's like a tourist trap Beatles store on 42nd Street. You go down to 42nd Street when you're on the tube. It's all Sherlock Holmes stuff.
Wow.
Because you're going to Baker Street.
Oh yeah, they know we're suckers for that stuff.
But to go to Baker Street, so it's all this stuff. But there's a Beatles store, and there's a line out of it.
Wow.
But I went to Madame Tussauds, and I got to admit, tourist trap or not, I had fun there. You would like that.
I went to the Ripley's thing with Niagara Falls one time. That's cool. It's cool stuff.
It's amazing. The one thing I didn't realize, like John Kennedy was so tall because they had one of his wax things
Oh,
there.
really? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I didn't realize till his daughter said it that Rod Serling's so short.
Huh.
But then I started watching his shows. Like, yeah, he is sort of.
You watch, those old movies too. The old stars like Cagney and Bogart. Those guys weren't very tall.
No,
and Alan Ladd was short, and that's why they paired him up with Veronica Lake a lot because she was short. So he was a couple inches taller than her.
She's one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, she does a great job in anything she does.
I think Clark Gable, like they had him wear like platforms.
Yeah. Her and what's that other? Virginia Graham, was that her name?
Yeah, there's
she
Virginia
always
Mayo?
plays. She always plays. No, her last name was Graham,
Oh.
but she always played the femme fatale or the gambler's wife or the girlfriend or the crazy. And she was great.
Well,
actress.
the famous Veronica Lake hairstyle too,
Right.
with over the one eye and everything else. But you were all over the place this summer. How'd the gigs go this summer?
Oh man, it was like the great. I found a shirt to commemorate it. I was out at the Waterloo Mall after we saw the Cheap Trick show out there, and I found this at the H&M store. It's like like a brand name store. Anyway, so I go there. They had this T-shirt, and it wasn't very expensive, but it said "The Great Summer Tour" on it. And it was in the back, and it had a sun thing, and the Great Summer Tour, and a little thing in the front saying the Great Summer Tour. And I thought, this is perfect, because I wore it the last day of our 5-gig thing in 3 days thing that we did in July. It's been crazy, man. Fairport Music Fest.
Does it still smell like cow poops out there?
Yeah.
No, really, because
Oh, yeah.
I remember going to the outlet mall, and I remember they had like the famous silver, where like from like upstate New York, there's the one famous silver place.
I don't know. We went to a bunch of places.
There's like, it goes around. There's tons of them.
Yeah.
but there's all these things there. But all I remember is you could smell the cow patties.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. We on the way back we hit that because we took like a back road to get to the thruway. But we found this one store. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So it was a snack shop, and what they did was they sold all these bizarre things from like overseas, from the overseas branches of like Frito-Lay and all these things. So they had like all these crazy flavors of chips and candy and things. Like, turkey giblet.
Oh, the Japanese ones. If they had the Japanese ones are insane.
It's ridiculous. And we bought a couple of them just to see. They do taste like what they say. And like I shudder to think what the hell's in there, but
I think Japan's so interested in tech and development. They always try this because you could see these crazy, like they were saying, if you go into like a 7-Eleven in Japan, which you'll find.
Right.
And they have a thing now where KFC is like a Christmas Eve dinner there. It's a tradition.
Wow.
And I don't know this. You could find it online. There's a whole, how did Kentucky Fried Chicken become like a Christmas staple?
I worked at one of those when I was in high school.
Oh, we don't want to know.
Yeah. Nah, there's not much to tell.
They take you back room and say, okay, we're going to be watching you send assassins from Indonesia if you tell us what
the secret spices are in the flour.
It's like you remember the scene from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. What's your secret sauce? A Thousand Island dressing.
Yeah.
Mustard. Was it mayonnaise and ketchup?
Yeah, right.
But it was true. Everybody had, because there was a couple of those street meat guys when I used to work at the bars where they claimed like their hot sauces. They wouldn't tell anybody what it was.
Right.
Then the one guy finally told me. It was like,
it's Frank's hot sauce with something else in there.
Yeah, well, hey, what's the old thing? The good ones borrow, the great ones steal.
I am constantly buying sauces. I've got like a compulsion. I bought some Stubbs barbecue sauce at Big Lots the other day. I bought some stuff at Wegmans with Asian barbecue sauce. I bought like all these weird things, and then I mix them together, and I just really like all that
There's
stuff.
a couple, though. How are you for hot stuff?
Yeah, I can't eat too much hot stuff at this point, but a little spicy is okay.
But there's a couple. There was one called the Devil Sauce. I think it's like the pepper company, the tropical pepper company with the little bird on it. This thing was... And actually, Wegmans jerk seasoning, the regular.
Is good?
Yeah, no, get the mild, the regular ones.
Yeah, I'm a big soy sauce guy. I throw that in a pan, just sizzle it up.
Yeah, I probably do too much. I probably do too much soy sauce because I love soy sauce.
That's good for your salt intake.
Well, no MSG, no Madison Square Garden.
That's right.
So don't worry about it. You won't be sold out for the next show or whatever. How was Cheap Trick?
Cheap Trick was awesome. They were great. I mean, I think Robin Zanders said something. He fell or hurt himself or something, so he was sitting down. But he was still singing his ass off. And they had another guy playing rhythm. So because of that, I think they had some other guy playing rhythm guitar. But it was really good. I mean, they just play a lot of cool songs. And they went back and they played some of the older stuff like Big Eyes and if you want my love, you got it.
That's
or whatever
the song, I think it is.
Some other song that was a really Need Your Love.
Oh.
That's
Tom Peters still now he's playing with them still.
Yep.
I think he left them briefly, in the 80s.
Yeah,
but then I think Xander's son's a musician.
Yeah, both his kids are. I was reading. I went on YouTube and watched the thing about their net worth. It's pretty impressive.
He may look like Hunt's Hall Satchel, but the man's got tons of...
I think his net worth is like $26 million or something like that.
And then the Bunny Man retired. So.
Yeah, but I guess he still has a share in the band, however that
I don't
works.
think they had any acrimony.
Well, according to this thing, it said he got into an argument with Robin Zander about something or other, and he quit.
I never get
and I can't see how that could happen.
I don't understand where, like, K.K. Downing left Judas Priest, and I found out from, like, Halford's book that K.K. Downing and Tipton really never got along great.
No.
But think about it. Okay, you're in a band. You're in there for decades, and all of a sudden you can't take it.
Right. I mean, you just ask for separate rooms or something. There's always a way to deal with it. I mean... you just I mean, you only got to be together for so many things, you know. I mean, unless you absolutely can't stand somebody.
Well, Gillen and Blackmore.
Right. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, too, because I've been watching and listening to a lot more Deep Purple, and his lyrics, man, he's got a great sense of humor. Ian
Gillen.
Ian Gillen. He has such a great sense of humor, like...
well, knocking at your back door.
Yeah. Well, what else is there? Was another song that... the farmer's daughter there.
Yeah.
Anyone's daughter. Yeah, it's like... Yeah, she was nice. It was nice. You know, he's like, after he
like they'll do like those references, like there's the one song on Perfect Strangers where he goes, "We all came out to Montrose, but that's another song."
Yeah.
I guess he was renowned as like being a prankster.
Right.
And the thing was, like, Blackmore has done some horrifying pranks. There's like the one where I guess he's like one of the crew was passed out. He stripped him and put him on a boat.
Oh,
he
my
wakes
God.
up naked on his ship in the middle of the...
Yikes. Well, didn't they do a thing with the conga drums or something, like pull them away?
Well, what happened to Black Sabbath is, I guess, that the only reason he did the drums is it relaxed them.
Yeah.
So they were a bunch of pranksters, and I guess he drove somebody's car into a pool where they were staying when they were making the album.
Wow.
And he would lie. He would say, I guess what they were saying was, Gillen, he would say, no, I want to really experience the outdoors. And he set up a tent. And then I'm going to sleep outdoors. And they would see him sneak in to sleep inside.
Wow.
So what he would do is, what they did was they attached fishing wire. And they would pull it off the stage. But I guess, like, the whole thing...
That would kind of piss me off if people did that stuff. That's something I wouldn't be able to handle. Is like, I'm not a big practical joker.
No, I'm not now. Like, before, like, I always, like, I would say to my long-term friends, we never did anything that hurt anybody. I'm really happy. And I saw stuff, like, people did to people that was really mean. But I wouldn't be... Like, we don't sit down on whoopee cushions.
Right.
Like, walk in here, our great tech has the water with falls on our heads or something else.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You know, only thing I could think of, some of those guys, you think, you know, you're stuck together, you're touring, you get bored, you want to alleviate stuff.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, you hear about that in pro wrestling a lot, and a lot of...
I'm sure a lot of things surface as different emotions, and you have to manifest them into something, I guess.
Well, I mean, I would go more for, like, some bands, they would do it to new members as sort of hazing, just to see if they, you know, and you had to put up with it just to see how they were, and then they were all right. But I would get to the point, well, come on, we're adults. I don't want to be doing this stuff.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a big... I mean, I did some of that stuff as a kid. I remember one time I did this. I lived 4 houses away from one of my buddies, and we had a band, right? And his room was upstairs. So I barricaded the door, like, that went upstairs. I put all kinds of, like, tray tables and different shit in front of the door, right? And then I only lived 4 houses away. So I went home, called his phone number, because I knew the phone was downstairs. And I ran back to his house, and I could hear the door open. I could hear all the crap getting slammed around. And he's like, God damn! You know, he's like screaming, and I was just laughing my ass off.
There was one kid we were friends with.
Don't do this, kids.
No, there was one kid, and he used to be like, he had a really bad temper, though. Like, he'll punch walls. But what he used to do back in the day, I remember he'd do lawn jobs.
Yeah.
So what we did one time to him was we call him up, and one of my friends pretends he's the sheriff in Gates and said, well, we got your license plate, and you're going to jail. Now we're going to come and pick you up at the end of the week.
Wow.
Okay, now think about it for a second.
Right.
The cops are going to call you, but he's paranoid. We brought him soap on a rope.
Yeah.
We're like sitting there. And I guess he's like waiting out there, looking out the door every minute for every time a police car would go by. And then afterwards, like, I think somebody pranked me, and we're like, we'll help you get the guy.
Yeah. We used to do the only other thing we did. For some reason, they didn't like this one kid. It was in Irondequoit, and we used to just on Friday nights we'd do our binge drinking, and we used to drink Colt 45s. I'm surprised I'm even still alive.
Malt duck, man, malt duck.
But. You know, we drive around with this guy who was a little bit older, and we have a bag of empty cans. And we would just fling it on this guy's front lawn and just imagine the next day him waking up to all this shit.
I had the crazy friend.
And his father yelling at him.
I had the crazy friend who did that more artistically. For some reason, he would go like buy milkshakes or like sundaes, and he'd throw them on people's lawns.
Wow.
I never figured that one out unless he's an artist. But the one we used to like to do.
An artist.
You remember the old contests on the radio?
Yeah.
We used to like to call people and say you won like tickets, and
Yeah,
then
we
say
used
if you
to do
could.
that.
And we used to have like a clock, and say, "Can you answer this question?"
We used to do that stuff too. We'd call people and say, hey, and then, but we had this one thing. We used to tape record things. We were recording freaks. Okay, we would take things off of records or things that we would take snippets of things. Okay, and we figured out a way to record phone calls. We had like a suction cup thing or something that recorded phone calls. You stuck it on the receiver. And we found this old guy, and we don't know who he is. We think his name was Chester. And he sounded like he was hammered all the time. And so what we did, we got him all riled up. Who the hell is this? I'm going to come and kill you guys. He'd get off crazy. So we recorded this phone call with him. And then we called him back like sometime later, played his voice to him. And then he was arguing with himself, which was like classic. And we were just rolling, man. We could not stop laughing.
Those are the days, like stuff like that. Though,
that's a Kevin Smith movie right
everything
there.
we did was like harmless, but we plotted it out good.
Yeah.
Like if we were doing this, like
it took imagination
and everything. And we didn't like. I look at some of those things now. They do, and I'm surprised somebody doesn't get their head beaten in.
We'd all be in court,
and everything else. But we had some really funny ones like that too that we did, which were. And plus there were the joke store, like we were talking about that.
Yeah.
I used to have the gum with you pull it out as the mouse trap, you get snapped.
That's funny. Oh, yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah, you said the one where you get all the black
gum, yeah. And they had pepper gum and all this other stuff.
And they had one monster in a box where it was up to you to do it right, where you had to really be a good storyteller and build it up.
Wow.
You had like a pet venomous snake or something in here. Don't get it riled, but here you could take a look, and then you hit the thing, it opens, and it makes this big noise, and it's supposed to freak.
Oh, man. You had a cooler childhood than I did.
Well, I was all in.
I was Aurora Models. That was about as far as
Aurora Models rules. But I remember all those like catalogs where you would send away for stuff, and it seemed like it took like half a year to get.
X-ray specs.
Well, there was Johnson Smith. That was the big one. Yeah. But there was the Abracadabra Magic Company. And the beauty of it is you'd read about this stuff, and the smoke bombs were cool, all different colors. But you'd read about all this stuff, and you'd think, oh, this is going to be so awesome. It would take 2 months to get there. What the heck is this crap?
Did you ever see the Leave It to Beaver episode? There was one like that. They sent away, they saved this money, and they sent away for a movie projector. And this thing comes, and it's like 12 inches high.
No, the one thing
and it's not even a movie.
I could see you doing this. We actually thought about my neighbor Todd Anthony and I. We were big into all the stuff we talk about, horror, comics, and everything.
Yeah,
they were like mini films and projector. We were going to set up like a thing in the garage, all the old horror movies, and they were probably like just probably illegal, but they would have probably like condensed into like 30, 45 minutes, like the Deadly Man.
Right.
That was one thing we just couldn't afford.
Well, they had 8mm. That's where I first saw the first Batman serial, was a 8mm.
Oh, we have to talk a little about that. And then Greg has to fly off to another.
I have to fly off.
So,
and
it was
clean bathrooms for 8 hours.
So, just email the carnival and you can have the drummer to the stars drum up.
It's not a fantastic life, folks. I hate to break the bubble.
He will drum on the toilet seat. He'll play a song for you and everything. Yeah, you think we're living the life, but
I'll save you a roll of toilet.
It was Batman. Happy Batman Day or whatever.
Batman Day was the 16th. Yeah,
you would know that.
It's been all over the internet.
But I was hearing more about it. I wish they would have made the Affleck thing with Deathstroke.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I hate when they tease all that stuff, like the end of, what was the end there with with Luther.
Now, which one do you mean, though? The one at Bridge, they were going to form the Injustice Society.
Yeah.
But then the full one, he gives... This was going to be the kickoff to the Batman movie where he gives Deathstroke Bruce Wayne's identity.
I think so, yeah. And then there was that thing with Jared Leto. They had that deleted scene with him. And
I like the Snyder cut. I mean...
I did, too.
Maybe watch it. I actually watched the whole thing at once. Break it up, watch it a little.
Did you watch the black and white one?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I loved it.
It was like the best thing ever.
And I'm glad the latest movie they gave the Riddler his due. It's more like the Sale Loeb one because more like the sinister, like evil manipulative.
Yeah, I think they did a great job with that movie too. It's a little tough. It's a little long. I mean, it's hard to watch all in one sitting.
What I actually had a weird thing,
but I like them long.
I had but like the second time I watched it, I just wasn't in the mood, so I stopped. But I really liked it. But it's like one of those you have to invest yourself in it.
Right, and they brought back the detective plot line.
They steal a lot from the Zodiac too.
Yeah.
But Paul Dano, I think, is like one of our appreciated, really good actors.
Yeah, he's way cool.
Now there's an Aquaman movie coming out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That should be good, though.
I hope. I don't know. Like, I've gotten to the point with a lot of these superhero movies. It's same old, same old.
Well, they're not working as well as they wanted. Like, a lot of those Ant-Man movies didn't do well, and,
Well, it's always, I think it's what happens.
There's just too many of them,
What happens is it's the next big thing. It's like, it's comedies, it's this, and they go in cycles.
Yeah.
And, it's special, it's awesome. I mean, imagine if we were kids and we were seeing this stuff. But now, you see it so much, and we're old and jaded, and we've seen everything.
I feel bad about that Flash movie because I really wanted that to be good, and it just got trounced.
It turned out it was a flash in the pan.
Oh!
Well, we have lots
with that,
of...
we better get the hell out
We
of
have
here.
lots of fun stuff coming up in the weeks ahead.
Yeah.
And if they don't cancel, otherwise we'll BS for you. But
that's right.
If you have nothing to do tonight, and I know what can you do more importantly, go down to the Bop Shop. Our own Andy is playing with some people.
Oh,
which
yeah?
I'm not going to mess their names up. So
Very good. Knock 'em dead, Andy.
Yeah.
That was Andy, folks.
Yes, he's going to be playing, and he'll probably be playing. I think he'll be playing the keyboards. He's not going to. He's been taking up kazoo, but I think he's holding off.
You're not doing the water glasses this time?
And our own Adriana, who hopefully will be back very soon, she's playing at Abilene on the Wednesday, whatever the heck that is, 20th, I guess.
I have something cool to report.
You have other stuff to do.
I got a call from Steve Lyons, and I was setting up for a gig, actually, and he calls me up, and he asked me if I would play with that Whammo guy.
The Bubbles?
I guess he's a blues.
I know the name. I know the name.
He's like a blues, and he's got like a pickup band thing, so I guess I'm doing that at Abilene on Black Friday, so we'll see how that goes.
Wow, that's the only thing I hate to think about, like I said, last time I went to the dentist, is like, well, your next appointment is January 4th. Like, can you believe how the time goes already?
I'm telling you, yeah. We're already into that.
Our Christmas,
can't wear white anymore. What the hell?
Our Christmas special, but so Greg is not late, and they don't have to do like the overflow or whatever else. But we have our own today, our own Mikaela Davis.
Yay.
It's finally out after 5 years. Her next CD, very, very artistically called Mikaela Davis and Southern Star. Be brief.
Want to hear it?
It's really cool. It's really good. You can go order it, or you can.
And what song we got?
Actually, the one I thought about, I usually let you pick, but tough today. You could do it next time we play something. No, actually, I gave it in my head. I think I've heard this song. Kean McCarthy wrote it, and they used to do a thing, August West, where he would be August West, she'd be Lily Stargazer. I don't know what Alex would be. Shane McCarthy would be Ulysses West. It would be like a country thing.
Oh.
And they did this really cool song, Home in the Country, which to me, you could tell me if you have time to hear a little bit, if it sounds a little bit like Neil Young.
Okay.
We'll play that. Pick this up on her website. You can get a cool white album, and she ripped me off on the last live thing because the second edition had a Sunflower album. The first one I got wasn't. She's touring all over.
Yeah.
And not around here, but,
Well,
I've seen her a lot of times, so I'm all right. And catch Greg, catch Andy.
Yeah.
Don't catch any.
We'll be running kind of fast, but you'll still be able to catch us.
But we'll see you months ahead, and I think we're pretty steady. We have life, so
Yeah.
some weeks we won't.
We'll be around.
You know, and then we might even do pumpkin carving.
The weeks we don't, you can catch up with the old episodes.
Yeah, we do have like tons. I don't put old ones up because I figure you can find them yourself if you want them. But very cool, and let's roll. Happy
See
Fall
ya.
is coming up.
Here comes Mikaela.